Holy crap. Sorry about that, guys. We were doing some stuff. Making sure everything worked. It does finally. So we're golden there.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that's a little better. All right. Welcome to the show, guys. Tonight we have a hell of a special show for you. We have Brian Mitchell coming on from Acr Audio. We have a surprise product that no one has seen yet, unless you tuned into Instagram, in which case you did see it. But for those of you that didn't tune into Instagram, you're in luck. We got some last minute product that showed up that's going to be super cool. But before we do all of that, of course, let's head over to Facebook and we're going to check out the 12 volt Clean Wire Club.
Yes.
Winner of the week. Zoom in just a little bit here. And there we go. Boom. Audio Frog Spectacular. That looks great.
Yeah, that looks nice. Gerardo made this. Is his own truck. And there you go. Very, very nice.
Well, these don't more goody. When I first started watching y'all, I had my heart set on JBL comes. Now I have my. Now I'm like, JBL, ain't no way. I'm installed. Well, thanks, man. And they trust me. They appreciate that. Yeah. They're going, money well spent. Money well spent. All right. You know what? Let me go back to where we can actually see us. Hey, there we go. So congratulations to
Gerardo. Yeah.
You're doing a spectacular job. For those of you that don't know, we do this cool thing called the 12 Volt Clean Wire Club. It's over on Facebook. If you do clean wiring or you want to look at clean wiring, make sure to head over there and post your pics so that we can all enjoy them. Right now, Fernando is looking for some awesome under the hood shots.
Yeah.
So we're trying to build up a library of those, and then we're going to start picking some of those bad boys out. So stay tuned for that. But the only way we can do it is if you post the pictures. So make sure you post those pictures. Hi, Brian.
There he is.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah? Your house looks wonderful.
Doesn't it? Yeah, I have the big grand, piano in the back.
I like the piano in the back. Do you play the piano sometimes?
Oh, all the time. Well,
he serenades Chewy to sleep.
As long as I don't move too fast, you won't see anything else.
Oh, come on, man. What are you trying to say?
That's awesome.
So we wanted to have you on, obviously, because of your day job, which is Acr Audio, and you do you sent us some really interesting pieces not too long ago, because we had an Acr Audio dealer ask us, hey, have you heard of these? And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about, which means immediately hung up the phone. And I'm like, hey, man, what are these?
Yeah.
And you sent them to us.
Of course.
Through the power of the internet, we are going to have you kind of walk us through some of these and explain it to us and why these guys might be interested in them the same way we were. And then this morning we got into a new box that just dropped on us
boom.
Yeah. And like an SR-71 flying through the sky.
You don't even know it's there until it's there, right?
Yeah, and until it's gone. It's gone. By the time you hear it, it's gone. Yeah. So you dropped on the new Black Bird, showed up this morning in our box. So we were like, holy crap, which kind of changed the thing. I'm going to have to go back and re-edit the title. But so we have that to talk about. Of course, we've spent about 15 minutes playing with the software. Which we could spend a couple. It's some deep software. Holy crap!
It does everything, and that's just a variation of the pro software. But we'll get into it.
We could. I think we'll touch on it, but I will definitely have to come back and do a deeper dive. I think just kind of going through some of the basics, not how tos, more just the cool features. As I like to call the beginning, middle, and end EQ that it has.
Yes.
And then it has extra.
Yes.
Extra. Yeah. What the extra?
It has every EQ that is available, and then we added 7 more.
+3 plus, yeah. So
plus 6,
yeah. So we'll take a look at that. But let's start out. We have a new toy for us to play with today. Let me see that because I want to make sure the color is good. So all right, yeah. So we have the new Fernando rig.
Awesome.
So we're gonna play with this today, and really, it's heavy.
It is nice. I can see it.
Yeah, it's very heavy. Okay, so that looks good. So I will hand that back to you. All right, let me pull my goodies over here. What's up from Iceland?
From Iceland.
So I want to start with the
big box first.
No, I want to start with why we called them in the first place, which was the BXM. This piece right here.
The BXM, yeah.
The BXM. So we've.
Yes, don't cut your fingers on those staples.
I'm going to.
Just don't break the bag.
I don't want to break the bag because.
Just break the bag. Just.
I don't want. No, damn it.
Rip it open.
I'm gonna pull
it's a Band-Aid. Just rip it off.
I can't. Okay. All right. So let's start with it, dude. Tons of writing on here.
Yeah.
Tons of writing. It's funny. This is the least amount of packaging material, but I think out of all of these, this has the most information on it.
It does. Yeah.
So
the more complicated ones have less stuff, and there's nothing with a DSP. So we don't want to give you any instructions.
All right, Fernando, pull up your cam.
All right.
So let's get you in position here, and I'm going to switch over to camera 4. That'll be us right there. And all right. So first off, what is a BXM?
So it's the easiest way to explain it is to say it's basically the opposite of an epicenter. It takes.
As you can see, it's very tiny.
It's very, very tiny. Yes. In about 2000, all the music changed, and that's because waves, which they use in Pro Tools audio when they're doing recordings, they use this algorithm, and they can get more bass into a song without it, overextending the speakers. So all the recordings are done, and they have just a lot more bass in them. And that algorithm that they use is offered in a small chip. So that chip takes the lower frequencies and it analyzes them, and then it says, if I was a low frequency playing, what would it sound like at a higher frequency? And your ears hear that, and they perceive it as more bass, but the speakers don't move more. So it's really a magic box. Yes. So uses for this, for example, are if you have a truck that has no space for a subwoofer and you put in aftermarket speakers, almost always there's not enough bass as the factory had. The factory speakers do a much better job than aftermarket because they're made to play a full frequency range, and they don't do any of it very well, but they do some of it, all the way down. So when you do an aftermarket stereo and if it's amplified, you can add that in line, and it can actually be powered off the RCAs if it's in an amplifier. And
wait, what? I don't have to hook this up? I don't have to hook up this?
Yep.
Okay.
So if the amplifier has enough power to actually, power it that way. If not, then you hook up power. It's easy to check to see if it works or not. And it'll pull, vampire power off the outputs of the amplifier.
So it says bass level, low, normal, or high, normal, low. What is that?
So that's what you're going to play around with those because it depends on the kind of music that you're listening to.
So just like an epicenter where you have those effects?
Yeah. And it's going to adjust. You're going to adjust them and try to find what's working best for that effect. And there's not really a correct spot for anything. Each one's different depending on what you're trying to do with it. There's other uses for it though. So let's say you have a subwoofer in the back corner of the car and in the trunk, and in the back corner it looks nice and it fits nice, but the box is usually a little bit too small. or if you have one on each side, you might get cancellation in the trunk. So putting that in there in line with it will change how the sub frequencies interact with each other. If you put it in with a box that's too small, a lot of times you can get usable bass out of it, and it seems like the bass plays much lower. There was a Cadillac that we did on the Overhauling show that Ray West and Fred Lynch did, and the woofers were way in the back. And when they shut the trunk, there wasn't any bass. I mean, the bass significantly decreased because it was canceling out inside the trunk. The same frequencies were hitting each other, and then you get a decrease in bass. And putting that in actually changed it around enough that you had decent bass output, and you didn't do anything but put this little electronic box in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically what you're saying is everybody should have one of these in their car.
Well, no.
Okay.
No. Everyone who does installs should have one hanging on the shelf. Probably not 5, but 1. And when you get those circumstances where you go, man, something's just not quite right with the bass, some interaction, either the box is too small or there's not enough room for a woofer, you can put that in and it will get you out of the problems. So the 3 items that I sent you originally were in the solutions section of what, for our catalog, what we say is solutions. You don't need them every day, but when you need them, that's the only thing that'll work.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
you have to try it. It's, without seeing the epicenter work, it sounds like magic, but it's not. It's that works the same way. But,
okay.
What is not good for, though, is doing what the epicenter does, which is putting on big woofers and trying to get more bass out of it. It doesn't work for that. But if you had 10s and you're trying to get it to play a little bit more low frequency out of a 10, it does really well.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Similar to the deep bass switch on a bass guitar amp.
I'm not sure about the I don't know what that one does. Yeah. So possibly. I mean, it's.
You mean you don't play guitar? Or just piano?
You just play piano, right?
Yeah, just piano. Well, my guitar room's the other side.
Yeah. That's in the east.
But clearly, I'm only acoustical guitar.
Yeah.
So me, I don't like to overpromise. I don't know what that one does, so I don't know. But it sounds like it's probably similar.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So what was the next one?
So and it's extremely reasonably priced little gadget to have.
Right.
I think on the website it shows it listed as like $139.
Yeah.
So if you're falling into one of these categories like he just talked about, you may want to pick one of these up and play with it because it's almost like, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Next box he sent us was this guy right here, which is a noise gate module. And there again, these are all really obscure products, but almost like the most badass things ever. If you have that problem.
If you have that problem, there's only certain things that will fix those problems. So
before you guys talk, they actually BXM is $99.
Oh, $99. Sorry, my bad. So he was on the wrong page. You got it listed as $99. So that probably means you can find it on one of the third-party sites cheaper.
Yep.
Whatever. $99, $100. Give it a try.
Yeah.
Who knows? All right, so let's talk about the next thing, which is the NGM. This little guy here. What's that?
Noise gate module.
You guys are really deep on those.
Yeah.
It's called that. What is a noise gate module?
Let me start with how it came about, and then that will tell us how what it is. So in 2014, I think it was, the new Ford truck radios came out, and if you amplified them, there was no modules at the time, and if you amplified them, there was a chance that the tweeters could catch fire. So
could
if you turned it up, because there's a lot of high frequency noise on those channels. So we started looking at that system and trying to figure out why. Well, one of the reasons why is there's lots of noise on the factory amplifier that when you amplify it just resonates the tweeters. So we said, okay, well, you got to put a cap on that. You got to put a filter on it so it doesn't play above 20K, and that takes care of that problem. But in doing that, we noticed that there was a lot of hiss in the system, like an abnormally large amount of hiss in the system.
Yeah, like Fords. Yeah.
Yeah, Fords. Yeah, I mean, that's just Fords. So if you're doing a module, you never hear that. You're bypassing the amplifier. You're using a good clean signal. That's why we always recommend that if there's a module available, use a module. But if you're amplifying it and there is no module, then that hiss sometimes, especially in Fords, can be, it'll be so loud that it's obnoxious if the volume is down. So we said, well, you know what would work is a noise gate. There's 5, 10 companies out there making noise gates. Well, come to find out, there was nobody making noise gates anymore. and guess what? Robert Zeff had a really good noise gate design from way back when he made them, when that was just in competition cars. It was just a part of what you did.
Okay.
So, of course, we want this in the solutions catalog. So the original one was in a nice metal box, and it was, very showy. And we put this one in a more utilitarian black plastic box because it's going to go, you don't know when you're going to need it, but when you need it, you can hide it. Usually it is nice enough that you can show, but what it does is you have a threshold that once the volume gets low enough, you can set that and it will say, okay, the volume's this low. I'm going to turn off the outputs, and the hiss goes away because there's no output going to the amplifier. And the decay is how fast it does that. So your ears pick up on differences. So when that gate shuts, it's how fast it shuts. Whether you slam it shut and it's real abrupt, which you may need, especially if it's a pop or something, or it's real slow and natural, which is what happens when you turn down the volume control. Usually is you're turning it down in a very slow amount. So that's the threshold and decay. And it also has filtering on it. So you can filter out just a high frequency noise above 5K. So it only turns off those high frequencies instead of turning off the whole bandwidth. So you can do that separately.
So you get to keep like chimes and stuff like that will still play through. Is that what that's for? Or
no, it's just so it's a more natural.
Okay.
I almost always use it on filter versus gate because I'm usually using it for for that high frequency noise. And if it goes away and it's at real low volumes, your ears, the way we hear, it goes away anyway. Mm-hmm. So it'll take a tremendous amount of hiss out of the system.
So if the gains are set properly, mm-hmm. and you have hiss on like a factory system, mm-hmm. This has RCA and high level input.
Correct.
So this would be the product to fix that.
Correct.
Or to help well, it's not fixing it, it's just making it not so annoying.
Fixing is probably the more correct answer. It's okay. Going to take it away and you won't hear it if it works. It will. What it won't do is it won't fix noise gain from your amplifier. So if your aftermarket amplifier gain is set improperly, it's not going to fix that.
Yeah, that's why I said if the gains are set properly. Correct. So like if you turn the gains all the way down and you still have shh sound going on, then this is the product for you.
Yes, and really, if you unplug the RCAs and all the hiss goes away, then that's probably something that could be fixed with the NGM.
So fixing floor noise, basically.
Correct. Now, I still you could use it after a DSP if you had a noisy DSP, but I'm going to be go out on a limb here and say that if you have a noisy DSP in today's DSPs, it's probably just not set right either. So you can, but it's probably not something I would use it for. But the factory systems, there's a lot of stuff that gets by that's acceptable to them, and some of it you can't hear in the factory speakers because those speakers might not even reproduce that frequency. They may have just a whistle tone speaker, and you may not hear that buzz.
Well, that, and you have, 10 or 15 watts going to that speaker, and now you have 150 watts going to another speaker that's better resolution, and that's why you pick up that's why you pick up some of these problems, even with amp pros and Zen modules and stuff like that. You still have the potential to get floor noise, because even the preamp section in the radio was never designed to have the amount of power or the resolution that we're putting in there.
Right. So, and so you could use it for that as well if it had that kind of noise. But, most of the time, most of the modules are pretty good nowadays. I know there's some random modules out there that don't work quite as well after version 2 or 3.
What are you talking about?
But,
so just real quick, go to the website right here. So this one actually is like a 139 on the website. You can go and check it out. Yep.
Let's
see what this does. There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Very nice.
Very nice. We're clicking buttons. All right. So for the third product that you sent us, is this is the coolest box, by the way. So they actually had a budget for box on this product, apparently, or they were like,
okay. So boxes. Let's talk about boxes. Behind the scenes. That box is 14 years old. Okay. So all of our boxes had similar artwork on them, and
Chevy Camaro.
And if the first time you're looking at it, you go, oh man, that's really beautiful. But when it's the 14th year of looking at it, you tend to say it's dated.
So like you're kind of happy with the brown box.
Well,
it's the new one. So
it's the new box.
Plain is in. You've seen Apple. Basic.
But no, plain is in actually, and that is exactly that. That's it. The new boxes are all made out of recyclable material. We're trying to do our part for the environment. And as much as we can. I think
what they did, they just like flip the box, turn it upside down.
All right, so this is called the ALD, and there again, went for the acronym name, Advanced Line Driver.
Yes.
So this is, like you said, this is clearly an older piece, when a line driver was not as common as it is nowadays. But there again, I'm sure you guys said, oh, we need a line driver, and you went into the marketplace and you found out that nobody makes line drivers anymore. No,
that's quite the opposite. We came out with that a long time ago. Again, that's 14 years old.
Yeah. Okay.
We've had that for a long time. So that was a companion piece to the SE amplifiers. So
that's why it has the balanced out.
Correct. You could plug that directly into an SE amplifier in the balanced in. And there's some cool features to that ALD for its day. It takes line level in, and it takes a tremendous amount of voltage in. I believe it's 30 volts.
Wow. Back in the day, this took 30 volts, huh?
Yeah. I think it works on just about everything but, the high power BMWs. You can take a line level out of a radio. So some of these low voltage radios that are only 2 volts or less than some of them. And you can give it a good solid 10 volts out.
Okay.
So the funny thing is we don't really need those for any of our products, because they have such a wide range of voltages that they can accept now in our new amplifiers. So on the SEs, if you're using an old radio, there was a short time there where nobody had a good 5-volt radio. This was the saving grace to get good sound quality into an incredible amplifier. So it's a really, really clean line driver. We offer it in 2-channel only. So if you put it to an SE amplifier, you could do 1 per amp.
Okay. So in today's world, where would this piece kind of fall into place?
There are still times when you need a good high to low converter. And there are still some amplifiers out there, newer amplifiers, that want a large amount of input voltage. So, some of the other amplifiers out there on the market, take a lot of input voltage to get to their maximum output voltage. That's how they get their noise floor, low. So having a good line driver in front of it does wonders.
So it has the clip indicator and the power lights.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. Yep, and it's a good solid. The clip indicator is actually a good circuit for checking clipping.
Okay. Wow.
Very cool.
Is that Chewy snoring in the background?
That is Chewy snoring in the background. Hey, this new microphone works really good.
Oh, it does, man. Well, hey, he works for ARC. He's got a mansion.
He's got a mansion. He's got a mansion and a piano and a dogs.
All right. So there again, 30 volts of input, line level output, tried and true, been in the line forever, 12 years.
Yeah.
10 volts of output.
Yep.
So as we were talking about, these are just products that are just, they're nice to have on the shelf.
Yep.
And they all do something different.
Correct. And they're all reasonably priced. So, if you...
So that is, we'll pull that guy up here, which will pull him up full screen. So,
Very nice.
Yeah. So, if you're putting in, let's say somebody's doing an old school system, they have like an old Denon radio.
A what?
Denon.
Denon radio.
What's that?
Yeah, they have very low input or output voltage, so good combination there. But sometimes you just need a good high to low converter, and it works great for that. And the circuitry the circuit's very, very clean, so no added noise to it. That's the big thing is if you're going to put a line driver in and it's a dirty line driver, then you're just adding more noise to everything else.
Well, the other thing too is like a lot of these new inexpensive or value priced radios that are coming out have crappy output voltages.
Yep.
But you're, and let's say you're $400 into this radio.
Yep. And
then you decide you want to build a better system, and it's like, oh man, this sucks. Well, you could buy this for $140, so you don't have to buy a whole new radio, get the line driver output from it, and now add in your amplifiers and your stuff like that. So.
Yep. And sometimes it's cheaper to do that is buy the radio that has lesser outputs, because the next step up might be more expensive.
Spend the money. Get the best thing you can buy in the beginning.
Oh, no, I'm agreeing with that for sure. Like,
I know. Look at your house.
Look at my house. What you don't see is it's built into a hill and it's got a little door. It's on the Shire. It's on the Shire.
Dude, that would be awesome, man.
That is awesome.
Dude, have you been watching that, by the way?
I watched one. I can't get into the first one, so.
Oh, really? The second one is way better. Supposedly the third one's awesome.
I heard the third one is awesome. Yeah.
So, yeah,
I might just skip to the third one.
Oh, that was neat.
Oh,
all right. So we're gonna hope that this does what
I've heard that noise before.
Yeah, we're plugging in the Windows machine to see if it'll do what I want, because it's not popping up where I want it to. Well, that kind of sucks. All right, come on. Yep, shrink your screen. This is not recognized. Oh, that's cool. No, you have the same cable. All right, so let's move on to let's talk about the Black Bird. Let's take 5 here. We'll move some stuff around, clean off a little bit of mess. I'm gonna try to figure out why this guy isn't doing what I wanted to.
So we have this box right here.
Look at that. Ooh. Yeah. Now, how long? All right, tell us the story behind this. That'll give me some time.
Okay, so we have our new woofers, the flat woofers that were the A series, like the A10, kind of went with the military aircraft, numbers. And then we have the new one, amplifier-wise, which took the place of the PS850, and that's called the Black Bird SR71. And then we have the Nighthawk, which is the F-117, the first stealth fighter, and that's going to be the 2-channel companion amp. So the Blackbird is really a departure from our normal that we've been doing DSPs for the last 10, 12 years. It's 12-channel DSP versus our normal 8-channel DSP. So everything else has been built on the 8-channel architecture.
So this one is a 8-channel DSP amplifier.
Well, and 8-channel.
8-channel in, 12 channels out.
Correct. And it's 8 channels amplified and 12 channels of DSP. So in the PS850, you had 8 channels and you had 2 channels out. So if you wanted to use all 8 channels of amplification separately, then the 2 channels out were just locked to whatever the last 2 channels were. This one, the 4 channels out are totally independent no matter what you do with the amplifier. So if you bridge a couple of the channels, then you'll still have 4 channels out. And that's going to make it a little bit more accommodating to people that want to do bridged mid basses in the doors and get a whole bunch of power, and then still
want to do.
Yeah. Right. Yep. Everybody wants more power to mid bass.
Yeah.
And then you'll have 4 dedicated channels for those people that like their rear fill. You could do stereo rear fill and still do bass. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So and this one is it's already out for the market.
So we are talking about it for the first time publicly today. So this is the soft release for it now. We've started shipping them Friday. So dealers will be able to call their reps and start making orders, and they will ship out as we're filling back orders. So, yeah.
That is cool.
Now the companion amplifier, the Nighthawk, will be here probably, I'm hoping, another 2 months. So you'll be able to have a 2-channel non-DSP amplifier to go with that. So you could actually add 2 800-watt amps to go with the 1,000. You could literally have stacked in your center console, 2,600 or so watts of amplification in your center console.
Let's pull this bad boy out of the box and take a look at it. I got the software running.
All right. Awesome. And this is also iData compatible, right?
It is. It is iData compatible. You can still use the same controller for any of our other DSPs. You can also use the LR1 and the Wi-Fi card. The Wi-Fi card is just for tuning, not for streaming music at this time.
Which one is this one? We got 4.
Hold on.
All right, so it's an exclusivity.
This
You're
one
opening the one and only.
We taped that one extra for you.
Thanks. I should have let Fernando open it.
Why do you ripping the bag?
Because this one's going in my car for kids out, so we don't need the bag.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, let's talk about this beast. All right. So, all right, let me grab some more parts out of the box.
Yep.
All right, hold on, because everyone's probably going to be like, wait a minute, where's all the RCAs? Where's all the inputs? Where's all that stuff? What'd you do with the iData plug?
The iData plug is right here.
Oh, okay. So we got the iData plug, which is the iData OEM.
Yeah.
So when you use an iData piece, you plug that into the iData module, and then that's the output RCAs that plug into our RCAs.
Now this one is going to sold separately, right? The iData module.
The iData modules are all sold separately, as well as the iData OEM.
Okay.
Which is a secondary harness.
Yep.
Okay.
So just to see, this is Brian right there in the picture again.
Yeah, that's how small it is. It's unbelievably small for how much power it is, and ours are conservatively rated. There's no ratings that we won't beat that we put out. So in order to get the small size, we had to do plugs instead of regular RCAs. So when you have eight inputs, you have to have plugs. That's also the high level input port. So if you do high level, you would, instead of using the RCAs, you use the speaker connectors there, and you can solder everything and still have a nice. So if you're doing like an OEM integration, you can actually have a disconnect there. So if you have to service the amplifier for some reason, or you want to clean underneath it because you got popcorn, you can just unplug it.
Why would you have popcorn underneath your amplifier, Brian?
Well, if you're enjoying your music and you're watching,
I feel there's a story there, Brian.
There's always a story, isn't there?
Yes, with you, yes.
Yes.
So 8 channels of input, which is super important because I can't stress enough how the more channels of input, the better.
Correct. So with 8 channels of input, you can take any card that's available today that I know of and do front rear sub and sum them together if you need to and get a good usable signal. If you only had 6, then you have a chance that you can't do rears usually.
Correct.
So having 8 is very important. We put a lot of thought on the install side of all of our processors. It's not just there just because on the install stuff, I have to use them all the time. So I'm very sensitive to how all this stuff goes together and what we do with it.
All right, so let's kind of walk through the side.
Yep.
We have all right, so we have a bunch of lights right here that say clip protector, channel 7 and 8, channel 5 and 6, channel 3 and 4, and channel 1 and 2.
Right.
Which we'll show in a second. But that's a redundant of what is on that's in the software also, correct?
That is correct. But sometimes you're looking at those on the hardware side just to make sure your software and your hardware are lining up. And lights, the more protection you have, the better for anything, but especially on something that's very, very small like this. This amplifier has a lot of power. If you think about how much power this has compared to, let's say, an old Rockford 1000 that you see in like Mark Fukuda's van, his Blazer, that was the whole side of a window. And this is literally where you could put it in the center console of his the Blazer. So
next we have the PTM input.
BTM, that's the Bluetooth module.
Yeah, I don't know why I said P.
Yeah. So that's a Cat5 cable that connects to our standalone Bluetooth module. The standalone Bluetooth module, if you plug it into that, you don't have to do anything else. Just plug it in. There's no power. There's no ground. It gets power over Ethernet cable. So you can have a good, high-quality Bluetooth solution for, let's say, hot rods that you don't want to see a radio in. So you can have an amplifier that's very small and a Bluetooth module, and it all tucks away, and all you have to do is have a turn on.
All right, before you go, can you click on Shane? Up, right there, now.
Does the Blackbird have the same footprint as the PS850, running the PS50 now, but really want to upgrade?
It does. We did that on purpose. It does run a little hotter because we got significantly more power. But if it's in the same footprint, I have one in my new truck in the center console, same place I had my last one, and no problem at all.
Well, there you go.
Same exact footprint.
Very good. All right, next to that we have the optical in.
Correct. So Optical in, SPDIF in is going to take the few radios that have optical input, and you can go into that. So like the Stinger Height 10 works well with that. Some of the old Alpine ones work as well. If you have a DAC, it'll work the same way.
Amp Pro?
Amp Pro, correct. Yep,
okay,
all those
cool.
work. Now, if you because that's going to come up, if you have to do coaxial digital, so like the M11 Pro is coaxial digital, and some of the other standalone DACs, DAPs, the players, digital audio players, we do make an adapter that plugs into the Bluetooth module port, and you can do coaxial digital into that.
Well, there you go.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Auto sensing DC, that's signal sense. So a DC offset, regular RC or regular signal sense, and regular just 12 volt.
Yep.
AXP
extension.
So the AXP is the Wi-Fi card. So that will give you you have to set it up with a computer to start with, but once it's set up, and if you have Wi-Fi in the car, or let's say you're doing it in a shop, you can do you don't have to rehook it up. It'll automatically look for the last Wi-Fi network that it has. Now, it's not an ad hoc network. You still have to have a hub. So if the car has Wi-Fi in it, or the shop has Wi-Fi, you connect it to that, and then you connect your computer to that hub. And as long as they're both on the same network and you turn on the software, you'll be able to look at it.
So this is just for tuning, more or less?
It's all for tuning, yeah. No audio at this time.
PSC? This little guy right
PSC
here?
is the controller.
Okay.
So,
LRI remote?
LR1 is the small standalone programmable remote. So you can program it in the software to be either a bass knob or a full volume control. If you don't want to have a full controller, you can just have it do volume. It's whatever you want. If you want to be able to turn down rears only, you can program it to be any of those things.
Now, I have to say, this is probably the most amount of stuff I've ever seen on the side of an amplifier. Oh my gosh. 4-gauge power and ground input. We got 330 amp fuses, and then the little guy underneath it, IDL.
The iData link, yep. We had to move the iData link port over there because it used to go where the RCAs were. So it's real close. But if you plug in the control from the iData link module into that, and then you have the RCAs that plug in, and then tell it in the software that's iData link, and it will automatically configure. And then you should watch some of the videos after that, because there's all kinds of stuff iData can do. And we also are the only ones at this time that you can daisy chain iData link modules. So let's say you want
calm it down.
If you wanted to do 32 channels on your new Cadillac Escalade, we could do it.
Okay.
32 channels.
All off a single input from the radio.
And for anyone with like an in-depth discussion on that, you can check the video we did with Fred when we reviewed his Flex. He talked all about that and how he went through multiple iData modules in that particular car.
Yep.
Wow. So this is, like I said, this is probably the most amount of stuff I've seen on the side of an amplifier. You guys are looking for a solution for a modern problem.
Yes.
High level. So this is the true trifecta of Doom installation, where you have high level, you have line level, you have iData, and then you take it one step further. You have the ability to do Bluetooth,
yep.
As well as digital in.
Right.
So there's at least 5 different ports to get audio into this amplifier.
Yep. And high level in is up to 32 volts in. So you can handle anything currently on the market that I know of. And then some of the older stuff, the older BMWs are higher voltage, but yeah. What
was the power on this again?
1,000 watts rated. It'll do more than that, but it's 1,000 watts.
What's
rated.
It per channel?
125 per channel.
There you go, 125. For those of you guys that keep asking, 125 per channel. Would you like to take an overview of the software?
Sure.
Okay. because I have that working. Dude, Chewy is just living his best life. Oh my gosh. All right, let me see if I can do this and have it look good. No, is that gonna?
No.
No. Hold on, let me try this
one.
Oh yeah, there we go. There we go. So we'll just be out of frame, which is a total bummer. Fine. No one's disappointed. So at the top right of the screen here, we have your integration DSP.
Yeah. So this is all built on the Windows file format system. So it's tabs. You have a master tab, and then below it, it'll populate other tabs if it's needed. So integration DSP goes down to the input EQ and then delay and phase. So if you want to fix all of the problems with the system before you start tuning, you can get a nice flat signal out of it. You can do all of this in the input EQ, and you can negate the delay if it has it. So if there's time limit built into it, you can negate that. If something's out of phase, you can negate that. The input EQ has all pass filters, so all of those.
Before we get to that,
okay.
If they're using high level input, this is when they'd be using this.
That's correct. Yes.
So if we're doing any of the other inputs, we don't need to worry about this. So this is first EQ.
Correct. You probably wouldn't have to deal with that with anything else other than high level inputs. You would probably just not worry about it at all. But you could.
You're pretty cute. Okay, so explain why you'd want to do that.
There are still some radios out there that are not completely flat, and so there are times when you might want to do that.
Okay.
Or if you have some basic curve that you want to start with, you can do that.
All right. Now you said all pass filters, which means I'll click this cool button that says advanced, and I think this is really cool the way you guys set this up. There again, the other product probably does this, but I'm not as familiar with it, but I really like it.
Yep.
Because you have this real basic EQ that allows us to have some fun with it. I can just do this. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Hold on, I'll do that. That you can have some real basic fun with it as far as it's simple. Preset points, there's enough bands to be dangerous. But then if you hit advanced, it just got really intense. Yep. Like very, very, holy crap. So it says PAR, which is parametric.
Yep.
So now each one of these bands has just become a parametric EQ. So I can pick these bands now can be pretty much any frequency, I'm assuming.
Yep. They can be completely changed around. So you can have, individual frequencies in between each octave if you needed to. There's just unlimited amounts of control there.
We can adjust the Q because it's a parametric, so we can say how much it's going to affect its neighbor frequencies.
Yep.
But then you see that little arrow pointing to your demise, and you click on that because you're like, oh, hey, there's an arrow. Let's play with that thing. And you do this, and all of a sudden it's like, what is an AP2, AP1, LS, and HS? Oh, crap. So it just got real.
An all-pass filter 1 or 2, a low shelf or a high shelf. So it has all of that. And you notice this is all the bands are check marked, but that's per channel. You can do every channel differently. And we've increased
so I'll just pick like all pass 2.
Yep.
So, I didn't mean to do that. Okay. Now we won't get into what those things are. We're just going to leave it at it has those because
for sure.
We only have so many hours in the day.
Yep.
But we will come back and we'll do a show where we let Brian get really deep into those topics. So as you said, polarity and delay, if it has it on, this is the pre-tune.
Correct. That's all this is. Yeah, we haven't even got the tuning yet. This is
so this is EQ number 1. Yeah. So now we'll hop over here to the input mixer, which is very similar. So what I liked about this input mixer is this is very similar to a lot of people's input mixers.
Yes.
Where you have channels down the side, and inputs across. So you have your inputs across the top, what's coming in, and then your outputs going down the side. So it makes it real easy to set up the boxes. And then down here at the very bottom, and then you can.
So before you go, Brian was talking about the 32 volts, right? High level.
Right. Yep.
Right there in the corner.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You can select
your input voltage.
Yep.
Yep.
These are fast. The fast keys.
Yeah, those are the fast keys. But that's also, there's adjustments. So each slider, once you click on a box, you can fine tune adjust that through there. So, you know, there's a big jump from 8 to 32. So if you're 16 volts, you're going to need some adjustments. So we thought of that, and you can adjust those and get to the input voltage that you need. And down here at the bottom of the screen, you'll see the clip level indicators. There's lots of tools that help you set the gain, because that's one of those, you know, misunderstood things. How do I set the gain when I'm using a DSP? Because,
and these are the gains, essentially. These sliders here are your gains. These are your input gains.
That's correct. Now, if you go up to Tools and click on Tools real quick, the other side, yeah, right there, and go to Mixer Assistant.
Holy moly! What are we playing?
Why did you have me click on that?
This is a game.
So for the people that need a visual, you know, look at what's going on, because there are other processors out there that want, you know, that give you a visual representation of what's going on. You can do that in the advanced mixer, and this also is where you're going to do your upmixing if you were going to do upmixing.
All right, we'll save that for another show.
Yeah, save that for another show. Yep.
But you have fast keys across the bottom, so you have 2 in, 8 out, 4 in, 8 out, 8 in, 8 out, 2-way summed, 3-way summed. So, and then of course the SP diff. SP diff.
Yeah, so that'll change between Bluetooth and optical, because there's only really one digital input. So it has to have a switch that switches it between the Bluetooth port and the optical port.
Does it use signal sense to do switching? So
that's when it gets really complicated.
I'm just saying, but it has it. Let's just go. It has it.
It has it. Yes.
Okay, so that's good enough. We can go into deeper. So then we get to output DSP, and this is where most of you guys will probably spend most of your time, because this is the familiar zone of a DSP. So once we have our input output set up, this is where all the fun happens. So we have our crossovers, and you have I would say you have all the standard suspects, but then you have several others, because you have
Chevy Chev.
You have 3 different Chevy Chevs. You have the Spice Girls,
Chewy.
And then you have the variable Q. So if you want to make your own,
Yep.
You know, if you're that guy, Linkwix Riley, and of course in all of those you have the slopes that you want: flat 12, 24, 36, 48. You can click link. So if you want 1 and 2 to be the same, 3 and 4 to be the same, you can link them here. And then you tab through the side here to pull up each one. So the top one is the first channel, the bottom one is the second channel, and then you have your high pass, low pass for each one. So that's pretty familiar for most people. Next page is polarity and delay. 180 degree polarity switch, I'm guessing.
For polarity, yeah, it's 180 degrees. Yeah.
In the check mark right there in the box.
Yep.
Check that guy.
Yep.
And then you have inches, feet, millimeters, centimeters, microseconds. So plenty to choose from as far. Now, is this set up to where we type in the exact number, or do we need to do math?
You can do it either way. So you can type in the exact number, which will give you the differences there.
Okay.
But in my opinion, doing the math is easier.
Slow it down.
It's super easy once you go through a little tutorial for it.
We'll save that for another show.
Yeah. Let's save that for another show, though. So.
And then that takes us over to the EQ page, and there again we have the basic EQ, which has all of the cool bands from 20 to 20,000. which is here. And then we have the extra filters that we were talking about, which we'll talk about in a minute. In the basic mode, the extra filters just have predetermined points.
Correct.
And then volume. And so do the regular EQs. But then when we click on advanced, just like on the previous, holy crap, it goes full crazy on us. We can pick any frequency we want. There again, we have parametric. We have all pass, one, two, low shelf, high shelf. And then when we get over to extra, we have all of those as well. And then we have grouping. So when we're on extra, we can have it affect all the channels. As you can see, the numbers at the top all moving. So this would be really cool if when you're done with something, if you wanted to add a high shelf filter to it to like boost all the treble on like preset 1 to make it, blinding.
Yep.
Or a mid bass bump or something like that, we can use the extra filters for those kind of things.
Yep.
And
that's the big thing for the extra filters is you don't have to get into your normal adjustments. So if you are using the sliders and you're using the predetermined crossover frequencies, because those line up pretty well with most EQ apps, most RTA apps. If you're using it that way, then you don't want to change one of those frequencies to do something outside of what you want to do with your regular EQs. Some people do global EQs. They link them all together and do it all at the same time. So having the extra filters outside of that bandwidth, for whatever you want to do, it just gives you so much more control over the end result. You don't have to go and change something, and then when you link an EQ, it changes it back, and this is just a much easier way of doing it. and excessive.
Yeah.
And excessive.
So now we have outputs.
Yeah.
So this is level control. So this is the level control page. So
yep.
we the other were inputs. This is output level.
Yep.
So we have -40 and +12
yep.
to play with for level. So if you have your input gain set up properly, which means to say it's all the way down, you can now go and have fun with the output levels. This is where you're going to do your blending between your mid-range and your tweeters if you need to do that, or your mid-range and your mid-bass, and your subwoofer and your mid-bass. Fader, left, front, center, bass.
So the fader controls are there for two reasons. One, our controller actually does all the basic stuff that you see for a controller, as you would expect, a fader, balance, center control, and bass. But it also does all of the EQ functions and everything else that you see in the software here. It does almost all of it on the controller. But the faders also have a secondary use for the iData link. So the iData link needs to know what's what going into it, so it can assign the channels properly from the factory radio. So the faders are there for that as well. And, and when you do a change on iData link on the radio, it's actually making these changes in the fader on the processor, not at the radio.
That makes total sense. That makes that, and that is why everyone has failed up to this point.
Yep.
All right, so then we're going to take it to the next button. For God's sakes, tone control. Come on, man. And this is EQ number 3 for those of you counting at home. That's just it. This is just tone control, right?
Yeah. Again, you're going back to some of the basics of the processor in different use things that we come into play on. If you have a factory radio and it has tone controls, you can actually hook it up so the tone controls work in the processor, not just on the radio.
Through iData. Yeah. That is just awesome. Like this. Oh my gosh. So that's 3. So you have an input EQ, a main EQ with extra features, and then you have tone control.
Yeah, I think we're at like 47 bands of EQ, somewhere around there. 48 bands VQ.
Yeah. And then we come down to remote control, and there again, this is just for setting up the remote control. We don't have to get to we don't have to get into the weeds on this. Settings, turn on, turn off delay. Like a lot of this is where a lot of the oddball problem solving stuff is. Yep. So we won't get into the weeds on that either, because there's only so many hours in the day. And I think pretty much at this point, everyone's brain is just going, whoa, this thing does so much in this package that is.
Right. So, when you look at power output, processing power, configurability, that you can use it for everything pretty much. You can eliminate a lot of boxes that have to go before it. You can eliminate a lot of boxes that would go after it because it's all built in. You don't have as many boxes that you have to wire. It's super efficient. So the amount of wire that you would use, the 4-gauge wire, is much more. Well, it simplifies the whole setup. I mean, just from beginning to end. Even though it's not simple, obviously the software is got a lot of things going on, but it really is. When you look at the tabs, it breaks it down. Everybody's used a crossover at some point, and everybody's used an EQ at some point. So each tab is basically like that little box that you would set. Now it has cool controls and it does lots of stuff, but it's really simple when you look at it like that, and you go, oh, it's not really that complicated after that. It's just knowing where all the buttons are.
Right. And I mean, it took us 5 minutes to go through and find all the buttons, and then Fernando finally found the advanced button because I was yelling at it, going, oh, where's, and he goes, hit the advanced button. But that's what I like about it, though, is that you don't have to hit the advanced button. So
there's a lot of tools that we didn't get into. There's tone generators, there's pink
slow
noise.
Slow down slow it down. We just wanted to
just a little dip
little half-hour dive into it.
No, that's awesome.
So I think I want to kind of bring this full circle, is that a lot of people might not be familiar with Acr Audio. We, of course, have spent lots of time sitting in your cars and bringing Acr Audio to as many people as we can. Yep. And so for some of you out there, you're just like, holy crap, I didn't even know this company did all this. With the 3 basic pieces that we started out with to kind of set up for the fact that, like, here's a company that makes things that like you aren't even thinking about it until you hear what it is. And then you go, I think I need that. I think I need that a lot. Yeah. And then to see what this has in it that we just touched on. Yeah. Literally just
touched on it.
We just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
Jesus, man. What the hell?
That's awesome.
It's missing the kitchen sink. No, I think that was on page 4.
We just didn't show it.
Yeah, we didn't have
we didn't go all the way to the kitchen.
We didn't have time to get all the way to the kitchen, for God's sakes, man. It's an hour show.
We're the DSP products we're really proud of, just like all the other products. But Robert Zeff, who designs all the amplifiers as well as writes all the code for the DSP, is amazing. I mean, he's really just totally amazing. He takes the input that we give him and usually yells at us, but then he does it and he goes, it's great.
See, I pictured him as this recluse guy that just kind of lives somewhere, and like he just shows up like once a week to the office and goes, "This is what I've created."
No. He has his own company. Nicole Engineering is his own company, and he designs everything through that. And that's in Washington. He is he's an avid bicycler. He cycles a lot. He's in better shape than I would ever hope to be in, and he's older than me. I don't want to say how much, but he's quite a bit older than me, and he'll probably get hit by a truck, and that's the only way he's going to die. So,
long live the Queen. Do we know retail price on this yet? Christian was asking.
I'm not 100% sure, and I apologize.
Okay, well then, Well, so it's a new product, not
we
available
have to
yet.
wait. Yeah.
And you guys went over when we're expecting to see this, right? When I was running around, so I don't need to cover that.
Yeah, it's available for release today. So as the orders come in, then we'll start shipping them out.
Perfect.
We have an initial limited supply, so once those are gone, there'll be probably a little wait in between, and then the full rest of everything we get here.
That's awesome.
I know we're past time, but some Zeph. So just who is Zeph? Because it's a real simple answer.
So Zeph is known to most people as the founder of Zapco, which is Zeph Advanced Products Company.
Now, he no longer has anything to do with it.
Hasn't been anything to do with Zapco for many years. At least 20 years, I think. But that's who he is. So the people that, especially the old school people who say all the stuff was better back then, have never talked to Robert Zeph because he built all the really good stuff back then, and he says that the new stuff's better. So it's more efficient, the parts are better, less heat, all of those things. So
well, there you go. Yeah. So that answers your guys' questions and who Robert Zeph is. So but he also owns a little company called Acr Audio. So
no, he's not the owner of Acr Audio.
Oh, he's not. He's
just designs.
Okay. Yeah, he just the designs of the DSP. Yeah.
See, I don't know.
Come on, man. You're here.
I was doing stuff. I don't know anything. I'm just this guy. I sit here and screw up and ask questions, and then I get corrected. Yeah. We need Zeph at 5-star. Yeah, no, I'm good. And that's all I need to know is another bike rider. I spent $50,000 on my bike.
You almost
$12,000 on my car.
Robert is one of the smartest people I've ever met, and it's sometimes very humbling to have a conversation with him. So,
wow. Yeah. So I'll just stand back and watch. I'll pet the dog while you guys are talking.
He's sleeping right now, so don't do that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, no doubt. Well, hey, I've kept you past the hour. I want to respect your time and, of course, the viewers. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I hope you guys are blown away with this, and thank you, Brian, for coming on. Yep. That's it. That's what we got for you guys today. It is Monday, which means we have a whole week worth of crap to deal with. So,
yay!
All right. But don't forget to tune in to this week. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us Saturday. We'll be back at it in the regular studio here, taking your questions and having fun.
That's right.
And then
I'll be playing the piano in the back.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes. I can't wait.
I can't wait to hear that. Yes.
And then what is it? Not next week, but the week after. Do you know who Bart Deal is? From
I know the name. I know the name. I can't put a face to it.
That's okay.
As soon as I saw him, I'd probably go, "Oh yeah, I know who that is."
Yeah, I'm sure you know who he is. We'll have Lori Boyer, as my phone says, it's Boyer, and Bart Deal from Kicker on in 2 weeks on Monday. So that ought to be fun. And of course, you can find me Thursday nights hanging out with Mr. Hi-Fi Vega, doing nonsensical stuff. Brian, thank you again for playing with us. You guys,
so much, sir.
Have a great day. We'll see you later next time.
Bye.